Well, it opens up, as you can see, I'm sharing my screen with you, and you can see that on the right-hand side that the patient is already picked. And let me preface this with letting you see that this is a development account on the contractor's development site. So this isn't a real patient. This isn't real patient information. And the VA version is not going to look exactly like this. Just like the current iMED consent, CPRS is going to be used to pick your patient. And it'll be the same way when we transition to Cerner. So I picked the patient ahead of time. It's Wilbury Travelin, otherwise known in their vernacular as Travelin Willie. And it's an interesting, simple, fake patient. So on the left-hand side, you can see four tabs at the top: Browse, Search, Favorites, and Patient. These are pretty much similar to what we have in the current iMED consent options. Browse opens up into a tree of specialties that we're going to use to pick a consent form for a procedure. Search is to use to search for consent forms and educations and pictures and diagrams. Favorites, every time that you create a consent form or an education document, it's going to populate it into your individual favorites. Okay, and then the patient tab, you can see it's in red because there's some documents to sign over there. That's for any documents that were completed or incomplete and placed on hold for signature for this patient. So, for 60 days, these are going to reside in there in this patient's iMED consent instance. But I'm going to go back over to Browse, which is kind of what we're used to seeing in the legacy system. We have a tree view on the left in the left-hand column. So I'm going to pick cardiac surgery. Consent's basic, and we're just going to do a simple consent form, and I'm only going to take a couple minutes. So I'm going to pick aorta, intra-aortic balloon placement. I'm going to highlight it, and you can see down the bottom that it populates. And I can either double click on it, or I can go to the bottom right in the green and hit start. All right, now this pops up and asks me if I want to keep the same patient. This won't happen in the CPRS version, in the VA version, because again, CPRS or Cerner is going to pick your patient for you. So now this opens up to the document with three tabs, or the option with three tabs. One is the input tab. One is the document tab. That's once you give all the input you need, the document view. And then a signature tab to put the required signatures on there. Like in most CPRS and VISTA and government forms, if there's a required field, it's got an asterisk beside it. And in this instance, if it's a red asterisk, that means that the question has not been answered. So I can actually very, very quickly complete this form by simply clicking on this button up here. It says Show Only Required and Complete. And those are the only questions I have to answer.
Oh, wow, that's great.
Yeah, it's really, really fast. So I'm going to go back to the Show All, just for demonstration purposes. Now, if you notice in here, there's a doctor name for the practitioner obtaining consent. Is already populated because that was set as the default. So every time I open this version, that name is going to pop up and I'm not going to have to do anything. It's black because it's already been selected and it's defaulted. Now there's a couple of questions. Is the practitioner a trainee, obtaining consent a trainee or under supervision? I'll say no because I'm an attending. Well, I wish that was true. And then it says practitioners performing or supervising that are not listed above. I'm going to say no. That's just it's going to be a lone operation in the OR. Then does the patient have decision-making capacity? Yes. Now, if you select some of these, they'll do branching logic. If I say no, it'll actually take me through several options for identifying a surrogate, etc. Okay?
Okay.
So will anesthesia or moderate sedation be used? Yeah, it's going to be an aorta balloon pump placement. I assume there's going to be an anesthesia practitioner. So I click that and it opens up with this information. And because anesthesia makes it higher risk, it says that the patient have a current DNR order. If I say no, no question. I just move on. If I say yes, more options about whether I'm going to keep the DNR order in place or not. Okay, then it's got all this information. These are required fields, but they're already pre-populated. Just like in the old iMED consent, but it's much faster. It's all on one screen. Then we have anatomical location. If this was not included in the description of the treatment or procedure, I'd have to type something in here. And actually, we'll look at this another time, but I can add an image to this and show it a graphic image and bring that into the consent form. And
Oh, wow.
benefit, yeah, it's pretty cool. I'll show that another time though. and then it has the anatomical risk, or excuse me, the risks and the benefits. And if I want to add additional risks, I can. Then there's alternatives, and then the question about does the patient or surrogate consent to the use of blood products, and some questions that we used to see in the old system about vendors and tissues that are not required. But so if I go up here right now, I've got all my questions answered. I go back up the top, I just say show only required and complete. I only have one question left to answer. Does the patient or surrogate consent to the use of blood products? So I say yes, that'll bring that in. And now I'm done. There's nothing else to answer. I click on document up here on the top, or on the right hand side, generate document on the bottom right, and it's going to generate my document for me. It's going to look just like it used to in iMED Consent Legacy. Nothing's changed, the same format, etc. So it's going to do it just like this, and it's going to have the places for signing, just like we do in the current iMED Consent. Bring all that information in. Okay? So when I'm ready to sign, I click sign, and then I've got the practitioner obtaining consent signature. Click that. Sign it, save it. Click for the patient. Sign it, save it. And then if I go back and look, I don't have to, but I could just say save right now or print it. I go back and say, hey, down here, the patient signatures are in. Practitioner signature is in. And I hit save. And it's gone. It goes.
That was very quick, Paul.
Yeah, I tell you what, I'm just going to do one really quickly just to show you. Let's do a GI one for a colonoscopy. If we do 20 of these a day, I just go down and do colonoscopy with sigmoidoscopy. Keep the same patient. Again, that wouldn't be offered. Show only required and complete. I'm not under supervision. Oh, I'm sorry, not under supervision. I'm the only one taking part in this. I say no. Patient has decision-making capacity. Moderate sedation. It does not pose a high risk. Well, no, we'll say it doesn't pose a high risk because it's going to be a pretty simple one. And the patient consents to the use of blood products if needed, or it's NA. I don't think it's necessary. I hit document. It generates the document. Make sure that's all good. Sign it. Sign it. Of course, I'm going to have the discussion with the patient, but I'm just showing you the logistics of how long it takes to do this.
Right.
And save, and it's done. You can literally do it in a minute. But
Very nice, Paul.
That gives more time for a good informed consent discussion with the patient. So do you have any questions right now?